fact that there is kind of this love and hate relationship between France and Germany in general, because politically speaking, like this might be the strongest relationship, I would say, there is for both countries. I think France's biggest ally is Germany, and German's biggest ally is French, right? But on the other side, on the public opinion, I think people are kind of in between because cultures are so different. Um, so much that I think, culturally speaking, everything that French value the most is not very present somehow in Germany,
Or give some examples.
like cooking and fashion, for example.
Cooking and fashion, yeah, that's a good one.
Um, yeah, but again, like mostly, like I when I travel, I meet a lot of German people because I think that France and Germany somehow are two, probably with the Netherlands, the three countries that travel the most, like with the most backpackers culture in Europe, even in the world, perhaps. Um, so yeah, I do get along with a lot with Germans, and usually, yeah, I make a lot of German friends when I
Oh,
travel.
really?
But I did live in Germany for 3 months, as I told you before.
So you have a bunch of German friends?
Yeah, like
Or like acquaintances, you have
yeah,
like
it's more like
some.
that. Like I connected with a lot of Germans while traveling. Not always like long-term relationships, but usually I do get along pretty well with Germans.
So, and what would you say is like, do you find any similarities in between them? Like,
To
yeah.
to be honest, every time the relationship starts with jokes about the other's country.
Oh, yeah. So, but you still think there's like a subtle, like, I don't know, like disliking for each other? Not really, or is there?
It's not disliking. I'd say it's kind of a rivalry more, but not an unhealthy one. Like it's kind of like it's for a game. Like just
Yeah.
having fun and having these. Like I like to say that I traveled a lot. Like really, I traveled a lot. I think I was really lucky with that because even before starting my nomadic lifestyle, I still had traveled a lot with my family on vacation and stuff. And to be honest, I usually make fun saying that the biggest cultural shock I had in places where I had the chance to live was in Germany, more than in Mexico, uh, not more than in Japan, but it's very different on that aspect. But
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
interesting that you say cultural shock because I mean it's a country right next to yours, right? It's like
exactly,
in the middle of Europe, so
and that's what's fascinating. Because I lived in Mexico twice, and I mean, this country is like 11,000 kilometers away from mine, and still there's this Latin culture that I really appreciate. And I would say that in Germany, it's just like the foundations of the culture are just so radically different, and everything I love in my own culture is just not present in Germany. I like that as well, though, because it gives you a different way of seeing life in general and lifestyle and the day to day and stuff like that. So I like when a country puts me out of my comfort zone and teaches me how to see things differently. But having beer, potatoes, and mayonnaise at 6 a.m. at the fish market in Hamburg is a bit too much for me. It was a bit too.
so would you also say there is something good or like beneficial that you got taught by the German culture or the German people?
Yeah, I actually, since I had the chance to go there for work, I love the work ethic of Germans. Um, I love this obsession for efficiency. Um, And this is actually, yeah, I would say on the work aspect, I feel closer actually to German culture than the French one. I like the fact that people like work is less focused on the time you spend, but more on the efficiency of your work, and I really like that. Um, so yeah, and since I was working in a half French, half German team when I was working in Germany.
So you
So
worked at Airbus, you
yeah,
mean? Yeah.
exactly. So when I was in France, I was always in the same office at the French part of the team, and so for my trip to Germany to Hamburg, I had the chance to be on the other side of the team, like with the German side, and I saw how it was technically on the hierarchy of the company. I was on the same team, but the way of working was really different. I like that.
So you only mean the efficiency when the work ethics, just like with pure efficiency and like always motivated, always on time. So that's what you mean?
Yeah, and kind of the fact that people detach themselves more from their work.
Oh, really?
In a way, um they don't take the work as personally, I think, in Germany, from my own experience, which was still really short, so I would not make a general statement about Germany, but that's what I felt. Uh, the fact that there is less, like, not everybody has to say hello personally to everybody in the office before starting the day, which I think,
Very true.
yeah, this is an aspect of French culture that I like, the fact that people talk to each other a lot and everything, but sometimes just like, dude, like, don't take it wrong if I there's a big open space and I don't come to say hello if I didn't have to talk to you in the first place. So yeah, there's that. There's the flexibility in the working hours that we had more in Germany than in France for Airbus. It was much more common for people to arrive very early to be able to actually leave work and go back home like really early as well. Yeah, I like that. But again, at some extreme, there are aspects I didn't like. Like everybody, like they don't take a real break in the middle of the day.
I mean, like
Most
a
of them
lunch
would just
break, you
like have
mean?
some kind uh, of currywurst in front of their
Oh,
computer,
yeah.
and that would be their lunch. Like this is something I don't feel.
Yeah,
It's against my religion.
true. So yeah, they see, you mean like they see food or having a lunch break also like just as like a normal part, normal procedure, like
Yeah,
an efficient procedure of
it's
the
like
day.
functional. It's like
Yeah,
I think
strictly functional. Yeah.
if they could have a pill to replace their meal, they would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds interesting.
actually, like there's a nice anecdote that says a lot about the difference of culture. That since the company Airbus is mostly French and German, the people working there know, like, are very familiar to the others' culture. So in France, we had a lot of German workers, and in Germany, it had a lot of French workers. And so for the lunch break in the company's restaurant, like when people saw that our plates were empty, they would get closer to the table, like they finish their meal, so they're gonna leave and we can take their spot. But as soon as they heard that we were speaking French, they would just like go away because like no, they're French, so they're gonna stay longer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they see it like more like part of like a social event, maybe. It's not just about plain eating.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's just like more like, I don't know, it's maybe gathering is the wrong word, but yeah, like a social event.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So
And I would say that most of the social interactions during the day in France are made in meals, during meals, during mealtime. And actually, there was like a interesting study made by HubSpot. It's a famous software for like it's like a ERP. Wait, no, was CRP? I don't remember the name. Anyway, it's the kind of software that makes you like manage your customer relationships and everything. Anyway, it's a sales software, and it made like a kind of a study to see the efficiency of the salesmen of different countries in the world during the day, and France was the only country that had two peaks of performance during the day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And the only difference was that France would be also the only country taking 1 hour and a half lunch breaks in the middle.
Oh, you think so? That's the theory behind it? Why there's like a second peak?
Yeah,
Like
so
because I figure like I assume there are many first peaks, because in the morning when you go to work,
yeah,
like in many cultures they have like a peak because your brain is still fresh and well rested. But yeah, after the lunch, yeah, most people just feel like taking a
exactly.
nap.
And they would have some kind of like curve like this,
Yeah,
but it would never reach the same peak as in the morning in the other countries.
and the French they have that
They did, yeah.
all, and that's the explanation. Yeah, that it's so vitalizing for
Yeah,
them
the
to not.
hypothesis was like because it was the only difference in their schedule, that was what caused it. Like they had a real break in the middle of the day when they would have social interactions and all that.
Oh, that's very interesting. So, and you believe that as well? I mean, it's like the only explanation why. I mean, why
Yeah, I
else would that
mean,
be?
you can never be 100% like sure, but I think it's, yeah, I like that to have like a big break in the middle of my working day, even though it doesn't apply to me anymore, I would say, because obviously my working schedule is very different from what is traditionally done in companies, you know.
So, are there like other things that you like definitely prefer in the French culture over the German culture, except that big and social lunch break?
Yeah, I told you, food and fashion.
Food and fashion. Yeah, right. Okay.
But it's more like it's obviously 100% biased because obviously that's the culture with which I identify myself because I grew up there.
True. Yeah.
Um, and I still appreciate a lot of things from the German culture and everything. But at some point, living 3 months in Hamburg, I love Hamburg as a city. I think it's one of the most beautiful cities I've had the chance to live in. Really loved it. But after the 3 months, I really felt the urge to go back, to just like, yeah, go back to France, which was not the case with a lot of other countries and cities I had the chance to live in. But it's just a matter of difference of culture. It's not a matter of what is better than the
No,
other.
of course not. All right.
I say that to be polite because, of course, France is better.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think that's a good last word. France is better.